You think it's fun to be a murderer? You think it's fun to haul around a sack full of
food?
Oh, no, Junior. What kind of guy do you think I am?
I'm starved.
Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and for our last creature feature, we are doing Little Shop of Horrors. Not the musical, the one with Steve Martin and Rick Moranis. Well, I'm sorry, you know what the rights are for that one? Really? It's got Dick Miller. And Jack Nicholson. I knew you couldn't resist old Jack. He is something. Anyways, this is the infamous two-day wonder, as it's known, by Roger Corman. He technically didn't do it in 2 days. He did film over 2 days and one night. But then later they went back and did additional pickups for things. And anyone who's seen Corman's Bucket of Blood, this will look very familiar. It is similar plot, even used a lot of the same sets from that film, and filmed in the same Bowery area. And the plot is very similar, only unlike in Bucket of Blood, this deals with plants instead of beatnik art. But it is probably even funnier than that one. A little more silly too. But interesting enough, Dick Miller, who was the star of Bucket of Blood, was offered the main role of Seymour Krelborn, but he turned it down, feeling he had just done that with his Walter Paisley role in Bucket of Blood. It actually suggested that they should have Jonathan Hayes do the lead role, and he instead took the role of the guy that eats flowers. It's actually pretty funny. A really interesting cast here. You got Mel Wells, who went on to be a director himself in such films as Lady Frankenstein. We also have Jackie Joseph, probably best remembered for her voice work in Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And of course, Jonathan Hayes, a regular with the Corman crowd, and was in many of his films, along with Miller, like the Boris Karloff film The Terror, and Not of This Earth, and some others. We open with some Dragnet-like narration, because this is very much a spoof, where Bucket of Blood was a satire. This is out and out farce. And we are then introduced to our main cast at Mushnick's flower shop.
Oh, Mr. Mushnick, my sister's nephew Stanley died in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Oh, what happened?
He got blown up, who knows how.
That's nice. Well, you would like, maybe as usual, some flowers for the funeral.
Yeah, as you can see, they're starting up with the goofiness right away. That's nice. Actually, this is a running gag. She comes in every day with another relative that's died, and she needs another bunch of flowers for the funeral. Next, Dick Miller comes in to get some flowers himself.
Wait, I'll wrap them for you.
That's all right. I'll leave them here.
Why not? Of course, what else?
He'll do that all through the film too. He'll carries around a little thing of salt, puts on the flowers, and eats it. Meanwhile, they've gotten a order for the local dentist, Dr. Farb, and Seymour is trying his best to fulfill that order.
You've had more than your share of bad luck, Mrs. Shiver.
Bad luck, she calls it. You should have so many people kick off. You would have somebody fall on top of you, too.
What about the carnation?
You said you wanted the roses.
Yes, for Stanley.
My carnations.
Needless to say, he ruins it. Last straw for Mushnick. He's going to fire Seymour. Now, Seymour begs him not to because he's been developing this plan at home. Mushnick doesn't care, but the flower guy, from his vast experience of eating at flower shops all over the city and other places, lets him know that if you got a really interesting flower, that'll bring people in. Well, all right. Seymour can go get his flower, but it better be good. So he goes home, deals with his hypochondriac mother.
To be taken internally or externally for pain and neuritis, neuralgia, headache. If hit by a truck, call your physician. Alcoholic contact, 98%.
Yeah, I think we all know what her illness is. Anyway, Seymour takes his new plant and sees if he can wow his boss with it.
Well, I gave it a name.
What name?
What, you gave it a dirty name? You can't even mention it?
Well, I named it Audrey Jr.
You named it after me.
That's sweet. He named it after Audrey. I think he's sweet on her. Anyway, it's kind of sickly. So Mushnick gives him a second ultimatum. He either figures out how to make it look healthy by tomorrow, or him and the plant go. So, Seymour, who's tried everything, different soils, fertilizer, waters, he's out of options, but he's going to give it a shot.
Ow! 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 Hey, what happened? How come you woke up? Blood? You like blood?
Yeah. I think there might be some Venus flytrap DNA in that there plant. So he, facing being fired in the Bowery, as it were, Skid Row, he pokes all of his fingers with a needle and gives him as much blood as he can. And when he goes back the next morning, wow, what an effect.
Oh, boy, look at that. It's through. It's almost a foot long.
Mushnick's so pleased. Not only does Seymour get to keep his job, he's getting a $2 raise. And in the Bowery, that's a lot. Oh, as for his band-aids on both hands, he's got a perfectly reasonable explanation.
What happened to your fingers?
Bee stings. So how come I'm all of a sudden so wonderful?
5 bees, one for each finger?
10 bees.
Bee stings, yes, of course. Why not? They're a flower shop. Bees like flowers, right? Not only that. Not only did Audrey grow, but it is bringing in people. Some college co-eds come in looking for flowers for their sorority's float. Mushnick could get a lot of money out of this. Unfortunately, Audrey Jr. wilts again. So, Mushnick, who was calling Seymour his son, disowns him and says he's got to get that plant back up and running. And then that night, it turns out Audrey's got some other interesting attributes that haven't been displayed.
Feed me. You said that. You can talk.
I got a talking plant. Say it again.
Feed me.
Unfortunately, Seymour's out of blood. Well, I mean, you could give him blood, but he kind of needs it himself. He can't get any out of his fingers, so he heads out into the night to see if he can find something, which isn't too easy. And down at the train yards, he decides to take his frustration out when he spots a bottle on just sitting on a little stack of wood. Oh, but it gets worse than that. Whoa, that's quite a stunt. Actually, the train was going backwards. Corman had convinced the engineers to run it backwards from his actor, and he could run it forward to make it look like they would have gotten hit. A little sped up, of course. And yeah, that's guerrilla filmmaking. Anyways, he gathers up the parts in a bag he finds nearby, and we get a little montage of him trying to find places to hide it. Back of a hearse, garbage cans. And eventually he ends up back at the shop, where Audrey Jr. has a pretty good idea on what to do with the parts.
Just a snack. That looks great.
Sure, just a snack. Anyway, while Seymour is busy feeding Audrey Jr., Mushnick had taken Audrey to dinner and forgot his wallet. So he's going to head back to the shop to get the petty cash from the cash register. Gruesome sight, huh? So, does he rush in? Stop Seymour? Has the plant destroyed? No. He goes back to the restaurant, hands over ring and watch and anything else he's got on him to get drunk. He plans to go to the police tomorrow. Unfortunately, tomorrow he sees something that changes his mind.
Hi, Travis. $85 with the business already, and we barely open.
Wow. Business is booming. They already made $85. $85 on Skid Row. Greed gets the better of him, although he does talk to Seymour. And Seymour tries to reassure him.
Well, it's a cross between a Butterworth and a Venus flytrap.
Venus flytrap? And what are the habits of this Venus flytrap?
Well, the book says it eats insects. It eats them 3 times in its life, and then it's full grown.
Excellent, remember?
Well, this is kind of an unusual type flytrap.
That is a possibility.
It may never eat again. I don't see how it could get any bigger.
Then you think it don't need any more flies?
Yeah.
That's a relief. Or so Mushnick thinks. But he's willing to go along with letting things go for now. After all, money's coming in, and if it's not going to eat anymore. Now, Seymour has a toothache, so Mushnick sends him off to Dr. Farb, who's a little perturbed about what Seymour did to his plants that he'd ordered. And after pulling out one of Seymour's teeth, hopefully the right one, he plans to do some other things, but Seymour's not too up on that idea.
Seymour? Oh, stay away from me. Seymour, you're trying to kill me.
A duel! Aha!
Hi, keeper.
a duel with unfortunately for Seymour, a new customer comes in and he has to pass himself off as the dentist and tells him to wait while he gets rid of the body. Now it's time.
The patient came to me with a large hole in his abdomen caused by a fire poker used on him by his wife. He almost bled to death and gangrene had set in. I didn't give him much of a chance. There were other complications.
Yeah. A little off with this character that Nicholson's playing, especially when he gets into the doctor's chair.
Now, no Novocaine. It dulls the senses.
This is gonna hurt you more than it is me.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes. Oh, my God, don't stop now!
Well, of course, he also wants Seymour to pull a few teeth, too.
I can truly say I've never enjoyed myself so much. I'll recommend you to all my friends.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.
Oh ho ho! That is gnarly! Well, after he said his goodbye, that is the last we will see of Mr. Wilberforce. Yeah, that's it. That's all the movie he's in. You're leaving? You're not gonna stay for the slam bang finish? All right. Well, now Seymour has a body he needs to get rid of.
Eat me.
Oh, take it easy, Dracula. What do you think I'm carrying here, my dirty laundry?
And thus, Dr. Farb is gone from this world. Now, let's move over to our Dragnet parody.
Hey, Joe.
Come on in, Frank. How's the wife, Frank?
Not bad, Joe.
Glad to hear it. The kids?
Lost one yesterday.
Lost one, eh? How'd that happen?
Playing with matches.
Well, those are breaks.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyway, they enter the case at this point because now they have a missing railroad detective from the train yards, and now a dentist is missing. We all know where Seymour put the dentist. Which we then cut to a flower shop, where we get a really good tie-in joke to the one the two police officers gave.
I got terrible news. My nephew Frankie just lost his little boy.
Oh, that's too bad. How did it happen?
He was playing with matches.
It's a good tie-in. Come on. Them's the bricks. My nephew's boy. Playing with matches. Anyways, our detectives show up to question. They're questioning people in the area. And Mushnick doesn't act suspicious at all.
Your name Gravis Mushnick?
Mushnick Gravis. That's my name.
Just want to ask you a few questions.
Questions, ask me.
Just want to ask you a few questions.
I didn't do it.
Do what?
Whatever.
Ever see this man?
Man, see picture.
Why are you so nervous?
Got a guilty conscience?
No, why should I?
Ever see this man? So you know him?
My dentist, he maybe did something.
Disappeared.
Blood in his office.
The other man, too. Blood in the railroad tracks.
And few spare parts.
That Dr. Farb is murdered.
Is he?
No, who knows? Not me.
Yeah, I think he pulled that off pretty well. Anyways, after they leave, he pulls Seymour in for a little tete-a-tete about Audrey Jr.
Well, it ain't gonna grow anymore, I promise.
How can you be so sure?
It ate 3 times already.
What did it eat this time?
Well, about 1 million Japanese beetles.
So don't eat no more.
It's full.
Good to know. So, since Audrey and Seymour like each other, and they want to go out on a date, Mushnick decides he'll stay and watch the plant tonight, and they can go off on their date. And things take an unexpected turn with him.
I'm hungry.
No. Hungry? Ain't that a fine kettle of fish? Who would you like to have tonight?
You look fat enough.
Very funny.
Oh, burn! Well, Mushnick doesn't take that too well, and he refuses Audrey Jr., who doesn't take that too well either.
You can forget about it. You wouldn't get fed from Gravis Mushnick tonight. Good night.
You'll get yours.
Unfortunately, Mushnick isn't able to keep that promise, because a robber shows up.
Okay, let's try this. 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, I ain't got no more money, honest.
All right, try it the other way around. 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, Big Bad, where?
In the place.
Yeah. He feeds the robber to the plant. Now he's a party, active party to all this craziness. Anyway, next evening, Mushnick has decided he's not sitting up with that plant anymore. Seymour is. But he's got another date with Audrey. Well, they'll just have to have their date in the shop. And Audrey Jr. messes everything up.
What'd you say?
I was just kidding.
I'm hungry.
Needless to say, Audrey is disappointed with Seymour.
Get used to disappointment.
She's not going to put up with that kind of sense of humor, and she leaves, which makes Seymour angry. And he tells Audrey Jr. he's not going to feed her anymore.
Close your eye. You are asleep. Open your eyes. Now you will do as I say.
That was rather quick hypnotism. So Seymour is sent out to find food. And we get one of the funniest running gags in the film.
My name is Leonora Clyde. How's the rain on the rhubarb?
Master is hungry.
Well, hello there.
I gotta find food for Master. Food I gotta find for Master. For Master, I gotta find food.
Maybe I can help.
That was Mary Wells. Mel Wells is his wife at the time. And she eventually catches up to him, and after some dickering about his place or hers, saying, you know, she can feed the master, he decides since they could flip a coin, but he doesn't have one, so he's going to use a rock instead.
Wet or dry?
Wet?
Hey, what do you know? She gets to feed the master after all. Well, the next day, a local horticultural society has been planning to give Seymour a trophy for Audrey Jr., but they want to wait till the buds that have been popping up open, which they are to do that evening at sunset. And everybody waits in anticipation.
Isn't that the railroad cop? Look at the rest.
You're not rugged.
Who would have thought the pods would have their faces? Well, Seymour runs for it, and we get a pretty fun chase.
You wouldn't find them here with the toilets. Let's go back.
Looks like they would have. Well, Seymour, having become fed up with Audrey Jr. and ruining his life, making him a murderer and all, decides it's time for the final showdown.
Hey, rat plant, you messed up my whole life. I'll feed you. I'll feed you like you've never been fed before.
That was the noblest thing I've ever heard. Also the dumbest.
Yes, but there's no other way this film could really end, is there? He's a good guy, did some bad things, has to make amends. And we go out on a tragic scene.
Seymour!
I didn't mean it.
Poor Seymour. Well, I guess there's only one thing you can really say about this flick.
You know, guys, it just dawned on me how weird this film is, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of goofy.
Exactly. This was the second of 3 dark comedy horror films that Corman made around this time. The first was Bucket of Blood. This was the second, which was basically a rehash of Bucket of Blood. And the third was Creature from the Haunted Sea, which we looked at a couple of summers ago. And that was a rehash of Beast from the Haunted Cave. After that, Corman went back to making his usual style of low-budget horror films like The Wasp Woman and Last Woman on Earth. Of course, then he hit his Poe phase with Vincent Price, for which he's probably best known for his adaptations. Now, if the music sounds a little familiar from my review of Creature from the Haunted Sea, that's because the composer, Fred Katz, a jazz celloist, basically sold Corman the same score like 5 times. For Bucket of Blood, this one, Creature from the Haunted Sea, Wasp Woman, and I believe there was one more. Anyways, maybe it was only 4, but what he would do is he would just rearrange the music, but it was basically the same score. He wouldn't write a whole new score. he'd just rearrange the one he had and send it over. Which I think is about the only time someone got one up on Corman, who was very money conscious, as you can see with these films. This is also one of the cheapest ones he made. Now there is some speculation that he did this on a bet, that he could make a film in 2 days, and he won the bet. The other reason is they were getting near a time when payments to actors and stuntmen and all that was about to change. For residuals, actors would start getting residuals from films as opposed to just a flat fee. And so he did this one quickly so that it came in before that kicked in, so that he wouldn't have to pay anybody residuals for the film when it came out. Also, he forgot to copyright it, and so it immediately went into the public domain, and which is why you see so many different copies of it. When Jack Nicholson became big and videos started coming out, some people started releasing it with Nicholson's picture on the front, even though he's only in about 5 minutes. But hey, if it sells, it sells. Like a lot of people who saw this as a kid, I loved it. Thought it was hilarious. All the jokes. Some of the jokes don't age well. There's one where he was asked where he got the seeds for the plant, and Seymour explains he got it from a Japanese seed seller who got it from a field that was next to a cranberry crop, which to us doesn't make any sense. Is that a joke? Well, yeah. Back in that time, yeah, there was a lot of speculation about cranberries leaching into the environment and causing weird things to happen with plants that were near it. But, you know, who knows about that now? That's one of the reasons why it was changed in the musical version to being a plant from outer space. One of the more interesting things about the stage version is that Wilbur Force's character, the guy who's really into pain, wasn't in the play production, but got added in the film they made, which had Bill Murray playing that. So you got to see Bill Murray and Steve Martin riff on each other, which is kind of fun. Also, the stage version had an ending similar to this film, only it would also, in that one, Audrey gets eaten by Audrey Jr., and in retaliation, Seymour destroys the plant and dies himself. And I think that was how the film was going to end, but it didn't test well, so they redid it in the happy ending with that you see in that film. But yeah, I love this film from a kid. It was one of my favorites as a kid that I saw growing up. You know, it was this one, Lon Chaney's Indestructible Man, Boris Karloff's Man They Couldn't Hang, and Bela Lugosi's The Devil Bat. Those are some of my favorites. Oh, and Godzilla King of the Monsters. But you know, this one, for the most part, has aged well. It's nothing you can take too seriously. A lot of the humor still works. Mel Wells' malpropisms, you know, that's a finger of speech and those kind of things. And Audrey's voice, that was actually done by the writer, Charles Griffith, who also played the robber and a few other bit parts in it. And they were originally just going to have him do it, you know, on the set, off camera, and then get it dubbed over later, but Corman loved the film so much, and it was cheaper to just keep it that way. But I think the voice really works, especially the gruff voice in its adulthood, and that great joke with Mushnick, "You'll get yours." Oh, so much good jokes in this. There's a reason this is stayed popular for so long, and it has such a big cult following. It's low budget, It's lowbrow. And even the Dragnet jokes work, even if you have never seen Dragnet, just for the humor and the deadpanness of the two cops as they throw things out with that rat-a-tat delivery. Plus, a lot of people from my generation growing up would have seen reruns of Dragnet, so they would have gotten that joke. My parents did, and they thought it was the dumbest thing they'd ever seen. Of course, they thought the whole film was dumb. But it was on Big Chuck and Little John, and they were watching for the skits anyway, so, which, when you think about it, were pretty dumb. One thing I remember when Big Chuck and Little John would always show it, they would always have a mock-up of a big, plant like that made with cardboard and stuff. And, I mean, it started out with paper plates, but then as it grew big, and at the end, they would toss a Steelers helmet in it, and it would chomp the Steelers helmet. Hey, in Cleveland, they take their rivalry seriously. I'm sure most of you have seen it, but if not, you should really give it a try. It is hilarious. And if you don't like the humor, it's got that great jazzy score from Fred Katz. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. And as always, stay after the credits for my favorite scene.
What I did.